Hey everyone, I wanted to talk today about one of my favorite topics around the Enneagram, and that's just the basics, honestly. There's a lot of people who I think get confused with the Enneagram as a whole, and what they tend to do is just kind of find a book or a resource and look at their number individually and see what that means and roll with that. But I really prefer teaching the building blocks first, like what makes each number that number and why. I think if we can understand this, then we have a lot bigger grasp of the Enneagram in general, and just a greater understanding of how to use it and where it's coming from and all these things versus just memorizing a list of facts about each number. So the first thing that I want to do today in this video is to talk about the three fundamental needs. And this information that I'm going to present to you today has been put together by Dan Siegel, and he released a book November 2024 about the first research-based Enneagram book. And he uses terms to describe the three centers of intelligence that I've never heard before. And I think they're brilliant. And so what I wanted to do was teach these now. So, but before we even get into Enneagram things, we're going to talk about the three fundamental needs that humans have. And those three needs are agency, bonding, and certainty. When these needs are unmet in us, when we don't have a sense of agency or bonding or certainty, very specific emotions show up as a signal of distress, which leads us to do certain things, act out certain behaviors to get that need back. And we're going to talk about those needs specifically. The need for agency is the first piece that we're talking about here. It's the need to protect and satisfy our own desires and physical existence. It is having a sense of say in your life. It is autonomy and keeping yourself safe from any sort of external violation or an attempt to be controlled. At its core, this need for agency in all of us is about maintaining control, so that we can survive, and our physical and emotional well-being are taken care of. When our need for agency is unmet, when we don't feel a sense of agency, when we feel powerless or out of control, anger comes up. And this anger is a protective emotion that keeps us back, that wants to guide us or lead us back to feeling a sense of control, feeling a sense of agency. A feeling of anger signals a loss of autonomy or control over our environment, right? And so what that does to us, we are motivated to reclaim control, set boundaries again, assert power, which is why people, if they have a habit of kind of shoving down their own anger, they usually don't really have many boundaries, because anger is the fuel we need to set good boundaries. Bonding is the next fundamental human need, and this is a need to be with people, right? It's to not just to create, but to maintain supportive, meaningful, helpful relationships so that we can survive. It has to do with tuning into others. It has to do with connection. It has to do with mutual care of one another. And this is where a lot of the early attachment systems are rooted in. There needs to be a sense of bonding between us and our caregivers so that we can survive, so that we can regulate, so that we can repair disruptions, and so that we can be okay in the world. And this bonding also helps cultivate a sense of belonging. That's part of the bonding as well. When bonding is unmet, when we feel disconnected or unseen or left out or unvalued or like we don't belong, separation, distress, and sadness come up. And what that does is that tells us, wow, I need to get back to bonding with other people. I am sad, so I need to find other people. It motivates us. Sadness motivates us to repair and strengthen relational connections. It makes us want to connect more to other people. The third fundamental human need is for certainty. This isn't, all humans have this need so that we know what's coming, so that we can protect ourselves in that and keep safe. There's a need for some sense of predictability, for safety, and sort of knowing, at least with some sense of confidence, what lies ahead. If we didn't have any of that, we wouldn't survive. We wouldn't know where to get food. We wouldn't know where we would be sleeping. Sense of certainty is very important for all humans. It allows us to be steady and to thrive and continue to get things done and continue to move forward even when things are very uncertain. And this sense of certainty is a very heady thing for all of us. When certainty is unmet, so when we don't have a sense of certainty, when things feel predictable or chaotic, fear shows up. And fear it really signals a need in us for more clarity. I need to find out what's happening. I'm afraid I don't know what's coming, so I need to find out what is coming so that I can know if there's any sort of risk, so I can ensure my own safety and survival. And fear, right? Fear, just like these other things we've been talking about, when there is a sense of fear, it prompts us to further plan, further think, further problem solve, further get ready for what might happen. Fear drives us to gain more sense of certainty, whether that's retreating and analyzing, whether that's distracting ourselves, whether that's learning more about what's happening externally. Yeah, it can look like lots of different things. So why are these important? Why are these ideas of the needs of agency, bonding, and certainty so important, especially when it comes to the Enneagram? So Enneagram theory, if you've ever heard of this idea of the centers of intelligence, you probably have. 8, 9, and 1 are in that kind of third of a pie slice on the top. 2, 3, and 4 are in that third of a pie slice on the bottom right, and then the head types is that pie slice on the bottom left. And what do those mean? Well, this topic that we're talking about now speaks to exactly what those mean. So we're going to start with the body types, or 8, 9s, and 1. 8s, 9s, and 1s. So Enneagram numbers 8, 9, and 1 all are born with, and very likely even in utero, have a stronger need for agency. So they have a temperament toward needing more agency just from the very beginning. So when life comes around and you're born into a world that's difficult and you have to work to figure things out, and there's pain and there's suffering, what 8s, 9s, and 1s tend to do is they since there already is a slight temperament toward needing more agency, how they cope with the difficulties in life is by trying to find a sense of agency. And there's a focus on asserting themselves in the world, maintaining their sense of self and their boundaries and their sense of power. And as they do that, that gets further and further rooted into their personality. And the more we call on these, the more we use the thing that we already have a slight temperament for, the more it gets grooved into us. And we learn to rely on that more and more and more. And so, as we get older, Enneagram 8s, 9s, and 1s have a way stronger need for agency, and they are always pushing for that. They're so very often wanting and trying to gain a sense of agency, and that is what plays a huge part in their personality. We're going to break this down for each Enneagram number really quick in this triad. Enneagram 8s, how this looks for them is they tend to assertively take charge. They want to kind of aggressively and assertively maintain control of themselves and the things around them, but particularly the things around them, and avoid a sense of vulnerability. Enneagram 8s are just driven forward in life and kind of pushing against life and doing things in a very intense, strong, armored kind of way. And so this need for agency for the 8 looks almost the most obvious of all three of these. They can be intense, they can be challenging, they can be in your face. They're kind of the most you can't tell me what to do, more directly than any of these other numbers. Then you go to the Enneagram 9. Enneagram 9s are wanting agency, but it's sort of this internal and external agency. It's this sense of harmony that they're wanting. 9s may look very different from 8s and may not look like they need a sense of agency because they're not so externally pushing like an 8. But the 9s express their need for agency by resisting being controlled. And it's, I want to maintain my internal peace. It's, I don't want to be affected by the world. I want to be in the world, but not affected by the world. And so the 9 sense of agency that they're fighting for is this sense of, maintaining their internal peace and their equilibrium. And maintaining harmony. Enneagram 1s, this need for agency We had talked about how the eights, that's kind of put externally, whereas for the ones, this is channeled internally. So there's a need for agency over themselves, over who they are. There's a need for self-control, a need for integrity, a need for perfection, a need for improvement, because that's all for Enneagram 1, it sounds like I need to be in charge of me and my body, and I don't want my kind of animalistic desires or the id, if you know what that means, to take over me. And so I want agency over me. Yeah, and so that's what that looks like. Enneagram 8, Enneagram numbers 8, 9, and 1 are all striving for a sense of agency, and that has been grooved into their personality from day one. And this is how it can kind of look for each one, and it's a really good frame or building block for all of these numbers. So the next, we're going to talk about the stronger need for bonding. And these are the heart types, Enneagram 2s, 3s, and 4s. These types are primarily focused not on agency or control or autonomy like 8s, 9s, and 1s, but on relationships and validation and identity. So many of their behaviors and what they do and how they're coping are around securing connection with others and making sure they're valued by other people or valued by themselves. And let's talk about how that looks for each number. The Enneagram 2, they tend to focus externally on this sense for bonding. They say, if I can meet the needs of others and show up in a kind and friendly and warm way, if I can gain people's love and appreciation, then they'll stay with me. Then they will stay bonded with me and they won't go anywhere, and I'll be okay. Right, so 2s have such a strong need for bonding, and so they do that. They make sure to maintain their bonding by being there for other people and being kind and warm and needed. There's like a need to be needed, because that means there's a bonding. I'm staying bonded with you. There's a need to feel indispensable, and there's a need to be generous to other people, and that need to be needed is really strong in a 2, and that comes from this really strong desire for bonding. Type 3s, what happens with the type 3s and how they look for bonding is that there's this sort of internal and external thing going on with them. They sort of see success and recognition and achievement as a means to secure bonding and to stay bonded with other people. If I am valuable, if I am successful, and if people can recognize me and like me, then I've secured bonding. And then so that need is met, and that feels better. And so what they do is they sort of shape their sense of identity to be whoever other people need them to be in order to secure the sense of bonding. And they do that so much so that they even kind of believe their own press releases. They try so hard to be what other people want or need to stay close to others, and then they even go so far as to convince themselves that they are that. There's this sort of self-deception that happens with 3s, where they can kind of have this big blind spot on who they actually are. In the Enneagram 4s, what they do is they their need for bonding looks very different, almost the opposite from the 2s. They're focusing internally on their own deep emotional experiences and their own unique identity, almost even wanting to bond with themselves, wanting to connect and stay deeply connected and bonded with themselves. And this drive kind of pushes them to seek meaningful and authentic connections. Not only with themselves, it's also for other people. But there is this need to really connect with themselves, to find out who they are and to express my sense of individuality. And I need to know who I am and stay bonded with that and try to find out who that is what the behaviors of a 4 really look like. So last but not least, talking about the head types. These are the numbers that are 5, 6, and 7 are on that bottom third pie slice of the Enneagram. And this is head types have a stronger need for certainty. Head types are very cerebral people. Enneagram 7s are head types, but can look like heart types. But under the surface, they are 100% head types. These types want to know anything. There's a need for certainty. There's a need for understanding. There's a need to know what's in me, what's out there, what's true, what's not true. These types prioritize knowledge and mental frameworks and understanding in order to gain a sense of security or certainty. And there is a focus on ensuring they're prepared for the unknown and for mitigating risks. But again, they all do this in different ways, just like the other numbers. So we'll start with 5. Enneagram 5s tend to seek certainty through gaining knowledge. and maintaining independence. If I can only control me, and if I can not have my energy taken by other people, and if I can just withdraw and analyze and understand and protect my resources and mental and emotional, or even physical, then there's some certainty there. That's how they're finding certainty. From day one, Enneagram 5s are wanting to gain knowledge, right, and gain a sense of independence, so that they have more certainty with what's going on and how the world will affect them. Enneagram 6s, they're the kind of cornerstone for this need for certainty. And it can look like not being certain about anything. So as the Enneagram 5 kind of looks inward and internal to gain certainty, Enneagram 6 is doing it internally and externally at the same time. There's this internal doubt. I can't trust myself. I can't trust my emotions. I can't even trust my thoughts. I can't even trust the very brain that gives me that thought and even tells me to not trust it. Can I trust to not trust it? It just gets really messy. And there's also this move for a 6 because of that messiness to move internal and find move external and find some sense of reassurance, whether that's from a religion or a leader or someone they look up to, or a philosophy or a way of life. That's how 6s are trying to gain certainty. They're trying to gain a sense of certainty through planning, through staying close to other people, through hypervigilance and being prepared. And that's what it looks like for the 6. And the 6s almost never feel like they've actually fully gained certainty, almost ever. There's always this sort of stuttering quality of a 6. If I'm not actually certain, so I don't want to speak up, or I don't want to have too strong of an opinion, or I don't want to say this too loudly or do this too in the front of people, because what if I'm wrong? There's just always this constant itch for a certainty that's not there for a 6. And finally, there's the Enneagram 7. Enneagram 7s seek a sense of certainty by not going internally. They're seeking certainty by reframing experiences positively and pursuing all sorts of fun stimulation, anything to get them out of the uncertainty and the discomfort of what's inside. 7s have such a discomfort with what's in them. They don't want to be sad. They don't want to be upset. They don't want to be scared. And so they do so many things to not feel that. And they're going to avoid the discomfort of no certainty in here and whatever all this inside stuff is that they don't want to go toward, by keeping their options open and focusing on future possibilities. Like, I don't have certainty about now or what's happening in me, but I can really plan toward the future, and that feels like a sense of certainty. I can feel certain that things are going to be better, and things will be at least better one day, or happier one day, or less struggle one day. That's where the 7 is looking for certainty. Less certainty in the moment and more certainty in the future. So I hope this helps. I hope this helps with the basic understanding of what the Enneagram is and why each number does what they do. The next series I'm going to do is on another building blocks, another form of a building block. This was the kind of the primary need for humans that we each have, and the next building block is based on our direction of attendancy, which is a phrase by Dan Siegel, meaning that he coined, that means where are we directing our attention. And what we're going to happen is we're going to combine these 3 needs, or whichever need is primary, and then we're going to combine the direction of attendancy. And what that's going to, there's 3 of those, and so 3 sets of 3 combined creates 9, and that's what creates the 9 Enneagram numbers as a whole. So hope this was informative. Hope this was helpful. Please like or subscribe if you enjoy this content. Or comment if you have any questions at all, and I'll be here to respond and hang out and chat with you guys. Thanks, everybody.